Fernando, Fernando Garcia, Garcia. I'm the executive director of the Border Network for Human Rights here in El Paso, Texas.
And talk to me about what you guys did today. Was it a march or just a rally?
Uh, it was a community action, and it was a community mobilization in the context of the president coming to El Paso, but also in support of refugees and asylum seekers. So I think we gather in a park nearby the border, and we walk to this church when we embrace with the families and the refugees here in the Sacred Heart Church.
Why was that so important in light of the president's visit?
Well, I mean, we were expecting the visit. I mean, we wanted the president to come to El Paso and to the border, but I think this has to do more about his announcements before his visit to El Paso. I think he did it the opposite way. Instead of coming and talking to stakeholders and people at the border and see the situation at the border, he did an announcement in Washington before he came to El Paso, and I think that was a little bit frustrating. Because in what is very clear, though, is that he's using Title 42, a Trumpist anti-immigrant provision of enforcement of the law, to expel more immigrants. And we didn't expect that from Mr. Biden. I mean, he was against Title 42. He actually had condemned Title 42, and now he's using it to expel more people. And I think that's why there's a level of outrage of what he has announced early this week.
What are your thoughts on the fact that it's taken him 2 years, more than 2 years, in his presidency to come down here and see what you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think that's a reflection of how the system works, because we have an immigration system that is broken at the border, an asylum system that is in pieces, and we wanted the federal government to actually take action 2 years ago, and they didn't, and they are responsible for this. We were calling for the investment on welcoming infrastructure not to have this situation, and they never invested on that. We call it on repeal the hurtful, racist, Trumpist operations at the border, and they continue using them. So, yes, so it's a level of disappointment and outrage, the fact that we don't have solutions, and I think that's what the president needs to understand. That we want solutions now, real solutions, not political stunt. We're tired of political stunts, and I wonder if this visit is going to be exactly that.
When you said that he's keeping Trump's Title 42, Mayorkas had responded to that same allegation, saying that it was different because they were going to be allowing 30,000 migrants from Central America to have the visas. What is your response to his answer?
Let's say that I a Cuban or a Venezuelan or Nicaraguan, that I'm in the midst of a lot of violence and I'm being persecuted in my country. Okay? What the United States is telling me, wait, you need to apply online first. You need to find a phone. You need to get a passport. If you had money, you need to have a relative in the United States, then we can potentially grant asylum. By then probably gonna be killed. I think that doesn't work. I mean, this idea that thousands of people are going to apply to that online system, it is a joke only, honestly. I think what we are seeing right now is an equation where very few people might be able to use that system of asylum, like that parole, and the vast majority is going to be expelled. That is not a humanitarian or humane policy.
A lot of the people here would be subject to being
Expelled.
expelled under this new policy.
The only future for them right now is the expulsion. But look at them, they are still here hoping for a chance. What we're asking President Biden, if I had a chance to speak with them tomorrow, which I don't know if I will, we say, President Biden, the first thing that you need to do is give these migrants that are already here a pathway, a solution, process them, and then implement other strategies. But first, take care of these families that are in freezing conditions in El Paso. The second thing is please don't use Title 42. You are not a racist president. Please don't use that and start moving into a more humane policies.
Under his new policy, pretty much everybody here would be expelled. Is that correct?
Under the current policy, the only future for them right now, it is the expulsion. Under the new policy implemented by President Biden.
How you've been dealing with the migrant situation here for many years. How has it grown? Obviously, a border community is always going to have immigration, but how has it grown and to what level has it gotten here?
Listen, immigration has been always part of our reality. The flows go up and down, right? I mean, to be honest, it is not new. I mean, and we're not surprised that migrants are coming. At the end, the United States is exceptional because we're a country of immigrants at the end of the day. I mean, that's where we're exceptional. What I believe is that there's going to be erosion, a destruction of the few processes that had in the past to manage the situation in a dignified way. For example, we had a system, an asylum system, that didn't work well, but at least allowed some migrants to go through the asylum process. That has been destroyed until Title 42. So I think that is an essential situation that had created these crises. The second thing is that we had seen the militarization of the border. I mean, we have a lot of jails, a lot of deportation centers, a lot of holding cells, but we don't have welcoming infrastructure. That's what people is coming to the churches. I mean, if this was broken by the systems in place, why churches and why organizations had to bear the consequences of it? We need the federal government to invest in welcoming infrastructure, and they had not done it in the last 20 years. I think that's very unfortunate.
In your opinion, how bad is this crisis in El Paso right now?
You know, I think it showed, this crisis, it showed the need for reform. I mean, I think it is important that as bad as it looks, it showed that America is not living up to the standards of dealing with immigrants and refugees. I think it shows that we need immigration reform. I'm concerned about these families, but guess what? In a few months, we're gonna have more, and cycles are gonna come again. I'm concerned that there is not a long-term solution, and we're gonna be seeing these crises repeating itself again.
Anything you'd say to people watching this at home? A message you want to get out to somebody who doesn't see this firsthand?
You know, I think we need to remember that we came from somewhere, and it is not different in the past and now. I think the situations change. The history is different, but I think people have the same reasons coming to the United States that, like, some of our families had in the past, like 100 years ago, the people that came to Ellis Island had, for example, persecution, fleeing violence, looking for a chance, looking for an opportunity. That's what we're seeing here. These families are not criminals. This is not an invasion. I mean, in any case, this is part of our nature as an immigrant nation.
So, right now, how many migrants do you think are here at these churches? Because there's two separate churches, right?
This one.
There's one together.
Yeah, what? Well, I think it goes up and down. I think at night probably we have a more definite count, but I think it's between 300 to 500. We have between 300 and 500, and the numbers are coming down because of two reasons. There's been enforcement operations around this church. I mean, there's at least 100 people being arrested by Border Patrol and being expelled. That is very unfortunate. And the second one is that working with the church, the Border Network, and other organizations, we had found some shelters elsewhere, so for them not to be in the street. Our goal is to get them out of the streets, but there's no infrastructure, and the church is already filled, so that is the situation.
Do you think Border Patrol and other federal organizations are trying to clean up as much as possible for the president's arrival?
Listen, I don't want to say that, but it's too much coincidence. The fact that the operations started just 3-4 days ago, probably somebody knew even before we knew that the president was coming, right? So it looks like, I hope that that's not the case, because if this was a cleanup, like an intentional cleanup for the visit of the president, that would be a shameful act by the administration. I hope that that's not the case.
I think that covers it, Fernando. Anything else you want to add or something we might have missed?
No, no, that's fine.